I'm Dustin Grinnell, and this is Curiously. Back in March, I headed up to Vermont for some R&R, and to make a stop at the Alchemist Brewery to drink some Heady Topper, a legendary IPA that can be hard to come by here in Boston. Sitting there, soaking it all in, I started thinking about the craft behind my favorite beers, especially IPAs. That's when I realized I needed to get a brewer on the show. I've been a fan of Aeronaut Brewing Company for years, enjoying their IPAs while writing fiction at the Somerville taproom, and taking part in events like this spring's Space Week talks, hosted by the Space Consortium. When I reached out, they got back to me right away, and the head brewer, Mark Bowers, said he'd love to come on the show to talk about all things craft brewing. Mark's got a fascinating background. He's a former PhD chemist who was in San Francisco in the mid-1960s during the birth of the craft brewing movement. He's been brewing his own beer since he was a teenager, and after spending years working in R&D labs, he jumped at the chance to start brewing for Aeronaut in 2014. I visited Aeronaut Brewery on a crisp fall day, and Mark and I had a wide-ranging conversation about the evolution of craft beer, the brewing process, the equipment, the ingredients, prototype beers, and experiments. And then we tasted a bunch of beers, from lagers and IPAs to seltzers and sours. I've always been someone who defaults to an IPA at a brewery, but this conversation broadened my horizons and made me want to try everything. What struck me most from our conversation was a theme that kept bubbling up. Beer is really about bringing people together. It's about being social, having fun, discovering new flavors, and sometimes even sparking ideas and getting things done. That said, I know some younger drinkers are moving away from beer toward cannabis and other alternatives, and there's nothing wrong with that. Plenty of people report that cutting back on alcohol helps them sleep better, feel more energized, and even lowers certain health risks. But if I may, I'd like to make a case for enjoying beer, responsibly and in moderation. To help me do that, I'll borrow the words of Edward Slingerland, author of Drunk: How We Sipped, Danced, and Stumbled Our Way to Civilization. He writes that alcohol, quote, helps us be more creative. It helps us be more communal. It helps us cooperate on a large scale. It helps to make it easier for us to kind of rub shoulders with each other in large-scale societies that we live in. So it solved a bunch of adaptive problems that we uniquely face as a species because of this weird lifestyle that we have, end quote. Indeed, beer has been part of the American story since colonial times. It fueled debates in revolutionary taverns, followed soldiers to war, and remained a staple of daily life. From the founding fathers' brews to modern taprooms, beer has been a constant companion to our nation's, even our civilization's story. We dive into all this and more in my conversation with Aeronaut Brewing Company's brewmaster, Mark Bowers. I hope you enjoy. Mark Bowers, welcome to Curiously.
Glad to be here.
I was wondering if we could start with just kind of telling us where we are. What is Aeronaut Brewing Company, and what should people know about this place?
We're in Somerville, Massachusetts at Aeronaut Brewing, and we're between Union Square and Porter Square. It's an industrial neighborhood to some extent, but there's some residential as well. And we've been brewing here for over 11 years now, and I've been working at this place for almost 12 years now.
So you're a brewmaster.
I'm a brewmaster, yes.
Now, what does a brewmaster do? What are the responsibilities? And from day to day, what do you do?
So as a brewmaster, well, I've been brewmaster for a number of years. Originally, I was still brewing as a brewmaster and did a lot of production brewing. And I also do a lot of prototype brewing. Now I'm doing more of the recipe development, checking on the QC. Some of our beers are contract brewed to other locations in the Northeast. And QC stuff, new ingredients, the fun stuff, experiments, testing beers, drinking the beers, doing podcasts, and other outreach type stuff too as well.
Okay. Before we kind of walk around and see the facility and see what equipment you use to make the beer, I was wondering if you could kind of explain brewing beer in the simplest terms.
This can be incredibly simple and incredibly complex. Beer's been around for something like 9,000 years now. That's a huge amount of time. Before or at kind of dawn of civilization, some people actually think making beer and other fermented beverages was the reason civilization arose in the first place. And there's some evidence for that we were drinking beer and we wanted to make more of it and have more time to drink beer, so we started agriculture. And we also had to farm the barley instead of finding it wild. And so that kind of started the whole brewing revolution. At least that's some thought. I kind of like that personally, of course.
Yeah.
So it had to be fairly simple to start with. It couldn't have been something really hard. Obviously, it's changed over time. So beer is a fermented beverage. It's in the kind of same category as wine, sake, a few other things like that. There's some little odd ones. But beer is generally brewed with 4 ingredients. Water, of course, because it's a liquid. Barley, malted barley, and barley is a type of grain. We don't eat that too much. Wheat is kind of like rice, are 2 big staples. But barley is eaten too. You can go to grocery stores and find some barley products that you can eat. But barley just seemed to work better for brewing than making bread. And so that kind of is the reason why we continue to use barley. It malts easier. Malting is sprouting the grain and letting it just sprout and then stopping the sprouting. This wakes up enzymes in the barley that we use in brewing. So that's where the term malt comes from. So it's usually barley malt. The other 2 ingredients are hops, and hops look like little paper pine cones. People have been using hops to flavor things for tens of thousands of years, maybe longer. Wasn't used routinely in making beer until about somewhere around 500 years ago. So it's a relatively new ingredient in beer, in a sense. And then the other thing is yeast. And yeast isn't technically an ingredient because it makes beer, but then it kind of drops out. So there's not a lot of yeast in most beers. The idea is to get the yeast out of it. If there's too much yeast, it doesn't taste good. Yeast is a fungus, and it's used in a lot of fermentation. Yeast is used to make bread. And people have made bread at home for a long time, and people home brew now too. But making bread is somewhat similar to making beer, except beer you end up getting a liquid out of it, whereas bread you end up letting it rise and you bake it and you bread. So that trying to give you a little more simple idea of how the ingredients and the general concept. Now, in order to make beer, it's probably a lot like coffee in the sense that the malt is made into a cereal. It's ground up. You mix hot water into it, make kind of a cereal out of it. And that's a little bit similar to coffee because now you take and filter it. So coffee, if you're doing like a pour over coffee or a filtered coffee, you put coffee grounds in the filter, you add water, and then you collect the coffee liquid comes out of the bottom. A lot like brewing. We take barley, we mash it with hot water, we let it soak a while, and then we filter it out, add some more water, rinse it out, take that liquid, which is very sweet, and we call it wort, and it tastes a little bit like malted milk balls without the chocolate. And then that's mixed with hops to flavor it and add bitterness. And then that's boiled for a while, cooled down, put in the fermenter, yeast is added, you ferment it, carbonate it, and then package it. Nutshell.
Yeah. So that's like the high level basic brewing process and the ingredients in it and the key stages. When you think about the probably, tens of thousands of different beers, what differentiates them in that process? Like the amount of hops, the amount of barley, what are all the dials that are turned to make them different?
Well, first of all, the big ones are ingredients. So the barley's grown all over the world. It's not quite as terroir driven as, say, wine grapes are for any of your listeners, who know that there's different wines and wines. the same grape grown different places can taste different. But there's also a lot of different kinds of grapes. There's not a lot of different kinds of barley that are significantly taste different, but they do taste somewhat different. So that can give you different characteristics in the beer. Unlike wine, where wine is just grapes that go through it, and they don't generally treat the grapes at all. Barley can be treated. So you have dozens and dozens of styles. But I'll just pick like a stout, for instance. Some of your readers probably have heard of Guinness stout. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's a dark beer. It's black. It's roasty. Some people think it tastes like cold coffee with bubbles. So the similarity between the two is roasted malt versus roasted coffee beans. In fact, the roasters that are used for roasting barley to get this black, dark flavor out of barley for stouts is a similar type of equipment that's used to roast coffee. In fact, the original guy, Wheeler, back in the 1800s, took a coffee roaster, roasted barley so that he could make darker beers, which then eventually became stouts. So different roast levels, different kilning levels, you can get caramel flavors, burnt chocolate, espresso, coffee flavors out of beer. That's just one ingredient. So you also have hops, and hops have a lot of different flavors. Until probably 30 years ago, most hops were spicy, earthy, kind of herbally type flavors. But in the mid-1900s and up through today, people started breeding hops that had different fruity flavors. And so IPAs took off because they were very hop forward, using fruity hops to bring out a lot of fruit flavors, which are kind of the hallmark, especially of New England IPAs.
Okay. The slogan for Aeronaut Brewing is brewed with curiosity, backed by science.
Yes.
I wonder, what does that mean in practice when you're making decisions here?
Well, curiosity, I guess it's kind of like the podcast, your name, is that we're founded by several scientists, microbiologists. I'm a chemist, and one of our other previous founders was also into biology, microbiology. So we've had a lot of people who are incredibly curious about how things work. I'm a chemist by training, and so that brought a curiosity to us to try different things, different types of ingredients, different styles of beer, different yeast and such like that. That's where the science comes from, and curiosity.
Yeah, we're in Boston. We're in a very educated area of the country. There's prestigious universities and scientific institutions. MIT's not too far away. So it seems like a very apt slogan for this place, founded by scientists, run by people with scientific backgrounds.
Yeah, not all of us, but...
Yeah, totally. Is there anything that this curiosity-driven ethos has created in particular? You know, like kind of having that curious mindset. Has it created a beer or a process or something that you think is kind of maybe unique to Aeronaut?
Nothing specific, but we kind of push the boundaries on some things. Hoppin' Away was an early beer that used some people call it whirlpool, where you do dosing of hops at low temperatures. We weren't the first to do that, but we jumped on that bandwagon. And our Hoppin' Away was the first production beer that we did that with. And we call it a session IPA, but other people might call it like more of a pale ale. The border is blurred, but when it first came out, this was kind of unique because it was lower alcohol. It was under 5%. Still had a lot of hop flavor. So when people compared this to other pale ales, they really liked the Hoppin' Away a lot because it just had so much fruitiness to it. It wasn't super bitter. So that was kind of like, now, I mean, a lot of people do that now, but that was one of our first ones. And this probably the single beer of ours that's won the most awards over the years.
I can personally say it's delicious.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like getting that one first usually, and then the Year of Dr. Nandu is also is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's a year with Dr. Nandu.
That's quite a good one too. So before we go into the brewing area, what are we gonna see? Like orient me to the equipment and what we'll be introduced to.
Sure. The brewery we have here is, we only brew draft beer here now.
Okay.
Originally, we canned our beer here too, but once we got to a certain size, we had to find a bigger place. And right now we're contract brewing with 2 separate brewing companies to make our beer. So the beer that we make here now is just for draft, mostly in our tap room, but we also sell it mostly in the local area. The specific beer is made here. Our other beers are sold throughout Massachusetts, into Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Maine, I think. Always varies. And so those are the different beers we've made, but we concentrate here on making draft beer, as I said, but also prototype beers, and we're also still do our R&D here. So the brewery we have here is we have 2 separate brew houses. So we have a prototype system, which is 1 barrel, so that's like 31 gallons per batch, and we have a production system, which is 10 barrels per batch. And we have tank sizes, 10 barrels, and it would be 300 gallons or so. And we have fermenters that are 10 barrel and 20 barrel, so that's like 600 gallons for the 20 barrel tanks. We keg things here. We do some bottling. In fact, you came on a day when we're finishing up bottling one of our barrel-aged beers. I think it's complete at this point, and we walk around, but you can just still have this system out. But we don't do any canning here anymore.
Well, what do you say? You want to walk
Sure.
walk over? All right. So isn't there something unique about Aeronaut in the sense that the tap room's right next to the brewing area?
Yeah, when we first set this up, we have actually 2 separate locations, 2 different addresses. We're currently in 14 Tyler Street.
Okay.
We walk through this doorway up here and we're in 30 Park Street.
Oh.
So it was a little bit of a pain getting our liquor license, because they said, well, yeah, you want 1 liquor license for 2 different addresses. We said, no,
Right.
but they're connected. So we had to show the pictures and show on the map that these 2 separate addresses are actually kind of the same.
It's like 30 feet to separate them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the whole concept when we originally set up was have the brewery here,
Yeah.
all of the brewery parts there, the customer taproom stuff is here, and this part was the food hubs,
Yeah.
where we had people making food on the right-hand side, and customers were on the left-hand side,
Yeah.
with chairs and table along there.
Yeah.
And so that's the original concept we had, and we wanted to keep it as open as we could.
Right.
And luckily, the permitting allowed us to do this.
Yeah. You can almost see behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah, in fact, especially Friday, because we're open at noon on Friday, and we're still working in the cellar, because usually we open at 5 and we're done brewing by then.
Okay.
Mhm.
You want to see what we can see in there?
Sure.
Okay.
So you can see right now they're doing some kegging. So after they finish bottling a barrel-aged beer, so we're kegging the leftovers at this point.
Okay.
And these are what's called bottle conditioned or keg conditioned in this side, where instead of carbonating the beer beforehand, we put the beer that's only partially carbonated into the container with some sugar and some yeast, so it will continue to ferment in the keg just enough to carbonate it.
Okay.
It's
All right.
somewhat similar to how they make champagne.
And what is the big silver container that's going by tubes to the keg?
Those are fermenters.
So those are the fermenters.
Yeah, so you can see that they're cylindrical. on the top part.
Yeah.
And the bottom is conical, so they're called cylindrical conical fermenters.
Yeah.
And these are relatively new, and I'll say last 100 years, somewhere about that type of container where it's closed. So it keeps infectious agents and things out of
Sterile.
Sterile is a little bit higher in degree, but similar. Yeah, they're very similar.
Okay.
And that allows us, keeping cover, keeps dust out, keeps insects out, and all that stuff. And it's easier to do that with these cylindrical conical. Off the bottom, we can take yeast off the bottom and reuse that yeast. And that's why the cone kind of concentrates the yeast in the bottom.
Okay.
Now, this first tank here is a bright tank. And you can see it's not really conical. It's just called a dish bottom. It's because it's just slightly rounded. So in general, there's always exceptions. But generally, we ferment in the fermenters. Then when the beer is done fermenting, we transfer just the beer and leave the yeast and hops and whatever else behind and put it into the bright tank. So it's mostly clear at that point. Then we can do some final settling in the bright tank, and we also add carbonation to it.
And what's the outcome of the bright tank?
The beer then is transferred into kegs. So it becomes a step between the fermenters and the packaging.
Okay, so it always goes from the fermenters to the bright tank.
Not always, most of the time.
Okay,
Yeah, there are exceptions.
Okay. In this case, is it going from the fermenters to the kegs?
Yes.
And then you're adding something in again for the carbonation aspect?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one was a little bit different because this beer had been in barrels. So we barrel aged it in wine barrels for like almost a year. And then we wanted to add some other ingredients to it. So we took it out of the wine barrels, put it into the fermenter, back into the fermenter. And with the way that it's shaped, allowed us to add more ingredients to it, rouse it up, kind of stir it up, add sugar and stir it up. And then we're putting it into the bottles and kegs.
Okay. Where do the kegs go?
And they go into in the refrigerator here.
Oh, okay. But those are for sale, basically, and
but most of those will be served at the bar here. But we do sell some into the general area.
Okay. So those will go to the tap room, to the bar, and for consumption. So
and you can see in
now
here.
we're looking into a refrigerator.
Refrigerator.
Okay.
This is our tap room refrigerator.
Yeah, chilling here.
And this is we have this set up just for kegs.
Okay.
So we store all the kegs not being used clear at this end. And then these up here on the racks with all these funny gauges and stuff.
These racks and the gauges, this in the tubes, this goes to the bar?
Yes.
So this is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You see a bartender pouring their beer. That's what we're looking at right now.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So when they say we have to change the keg, they come back here, undo these tubes.
Yes.
Okay.
These fittings, they lift them up, take it off, put the empty one outside where then we wash it, slide another one over, and connect it up.
Do you have, like when you look at the menu of all the beers, do you kind of have backups? Like if you run out, do you have multiple kegs ready to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this case, each one of these, I guess you call it a row here, are the same beer. So for instance, this is a German Pilsner.
Yeah.
This is our Oktoberfest. And then this row is Orangutan Skies. This is Roaming Giant, our triple. And so it just goes on and on. And then when it gets lower, and there's only a few left, sometimes we'll transfer over here as we bring in a new beer. And then the ones that are diminishing, there are only a few kegs left over here.
It's like Fort Knox for beer.
Yes.
It's a lot of valuable liquid in here.
We also have a refrigerator. It's actually just with our cans in it and some kegs that are overflow kegs in it as well.
Shall we keep going?
Yes.
Okay.
So we kind of started in the front and kind of ended at the output.
Because put the fermenting process, the canonical containers in context of the process.
Okay. So the brewing process really starts in the brew house. And so And brewing takes pretty much all day. It's like a 6, 8, 12 hour, depending upon what kind of a beer you're making. And that's what these tanks on the left-hand side here are. There's like 4 or 5 different parts to it. So first of all, this inverted like pyramid thing on
looks
the
like
top.
it's 20 feet, 30 feet.
Yeah, must be a good 25 feet up.
Yeah.
That is a grist case. So that's where the cracked grain or milled grain is stored in there. And we have a conveyor system on the room next door on the hopper. We load the hopper with the milled grain. It's then transferred up through those tubes into this inverted pyramid that sits way up high. That's step one.
Okay. Yeah.
So when we're ready to brew, typically we'll probably do that the day ahead of time to load the grain, we call it. Then on brew day, we have water piped up. Then there's another very little pipe that runs from the grain into what's called the mash tun, the bigger, round, almost kettle-like thing below it. The grain falls through. As it falls through, water is sprayed underneath the grain in this bulbous thing, what's called a hydrator. So we're hydrating the grain. We're getting the grain wet. It falls into the big container, which has we call it a false bottom. It's like a filter in the bottom of it.
Okay.
And these has holes in it, so it's very much like a coffee filter. So it sets on top of that. We stir it, we let that set for an hour, and then we run the liquid off of the bottom through pipes, through a pump, into another container that looks like this, but on the other side that has the chimney on it. That's the kettle. That's where we boil all of the wort, which is the beer liquid that comes off of the barley. We add hops to it in there, and we boil that for about an hour. Then we run it through this there's actually 2 tanks here, one on top of the other. The one on the bottom is a whirlpool. So the hot boiled wort is then circulated into the whirlpool, and it's brought in at an angle so the liquid in the whirlpool spins around. So what that does is concentrate all of the solid material. Even though we ran off liquid, we add hops to it. When you boil it, proteins coagulate. So you end up with solid material in the bottom. And when you whirlpool it by spinning it around, it collects into a cone in the bottom of the whirlpool. That allows us to take clear wort off from the edge, and we can separate it in a sense.
And what's usable?
Just the liquid.
And then the liquid goes where?
The liquid then is pumped out back through the pump into a heat exchanger.
Okay.
And a heat exchanger is kind of like it says, we're exchanging heat for cold. So we're putting in this hot wort, and on one side and one direction, and on the other direction, we're putting in cold water.
Okay.
And so as the cold water goes by the hot wort, separated by panels, separators, there's heat transfer. So the cold water gets hot and the hot wort gets cold. So the cold wort goes out, goes into the tank, because we can't ferment it until it's at 70 degrees. So we have to cool it from boiling 212 down to about 70 degrees.
Okay.
And then the hot water, we have a hot liquor tank, one of these tanks here. Hot liquor just means water in the brewing world. So it's like a big hot water tank. So we take the hot water that we made from the heat exchanger, and we put it in that, and we use that to brew our next beer.
And then you now have beer in the fermenter.
Yes.
And then how close are you to final product at that point?
So it takes one day to brew, but it takes, let's say for typical beers, it takes a couple of weeks, 3 weeks to ferment it, and then have the fermentation stop after 4 or 5 days, let it settle down. We add more hops sometimes to IPAs, dry hopping. We wait for that to extract, settle down. Then we put it into the right tank, like I was explaining earlier.
Got it. Okay.
Package it. That's pretty much the process, yeah.
Awesome.
Prototype tanks here. These are experimental things.
Okay.
And we have 3 or 4 different beers in there now, I think.
Okay. Is that kind of a miniaturized?
It is.
Yeah.
And if you look at the brew system, I guess you would call it, for the prototypes, they're just kettles. These are just big pots. They're upside down, so we drain them, but these are just kettles. So we do it similar to that concept, but it's more manual. We're moving things around. We do have pumps, but we do a lot of things manually.
Now, you said the prototypes, you have a few going right now.
Yes.
Is it proprietary or?
No.
Okay.
We serve these prototypes.
You serve the
the
experimental
beers. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unless it's bad, but then it's rare. We've thrown a few away, but really no.
You get some bad eggs every once in a while, probably. Yeah. So you expose the ones that you like to the public.
Yeah.
Kind of get a feel for how other people are feeling.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And so, what are you prototyping now?
Well, one we do is a new hop. We've got an IPA in the tank. I'll give you a taste of the one out of the bright tank, which is a production one, and then out of the prototype, we did sometimes we do something that's very effective. Instead of brewing two separate beers and just changing one ingredient, we can brew one big beer on the big system side stream. Take some of that beer, put it in one of those tanks, and add some other ingredient.
Okay. So you sort of take a little something for the experiment.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so one of these ones, we have a New England IPA, which is in the bright tank, is our New Zealand. It's New Zealand hops, but in the New England IPA. And then we wanted to try out another new hop, actually an American hop instead of a New Zealand hop. And we tested that out in one of the prototypes.
That must be quite a rush to kind of think of things conceptually and then taste it. Mm-hmm. Is there always a surprise there? Is there always a thrill there of like, all right, on paper, we've got this amount of hops, we've got these concepts, but now I'm pouring it into a glass.
Yeah.
And there's a thrill of...
Well, there's always an anticipatory thrill.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it doesn't come out like you think.
Yeah.
This just isn't right. This is not all you expected. In a good way or in a bad way.
Right.
It goes
pleasantly surprised or whoops, we missed the part.
Or something. Oh, we nailed this one. This is even better than I expected. Yeah, it was so different. I didn't expect it.
Yeah. How often do you get that feeling? Is that a daily thing or is that a weekly thing? Or
a couple times a week, probably.
Okay. Like break it down in terms of like, okay, this is routine beer making. We've got to have a stock and inventory versus experimental prototyping work that I imagine you find to be pretty thrilling.
It's not quite 50-50. It's probably maybe 20% prototype and then the other 70 is, 80% or so. It's a more routine. But even with the beers that we make for the taproom, we have some similar beers that we make kind of seasonally, but quite often we'll tweak them. We can tweak them a little bit. Yeah. So, this one was too sweet last time. Let's make it less sweet. Or we say, there's this new ingredient that we think would really work with it. We're going to change out the old one, put this new one in because it's better in some respects, or we think it is.
Yeah.
So we'll do that, or we'll do a big change to it. It's the same style of beer, but let's almost start from a fresh piece of paper. Let's say, let's change the base malt, the biggest part of the malt, and we're going to add different other malts to it. Or let's throw some spice in it. Do a wit beer instead of doing the standard one with that has like an orange peel and coriander or some other like spices to it. Let's change it out. Instead of doing orange peel, we'll do grapefruit peel, or we'll do lime peel, and then we're going to do some other kind of spice and add more spice or whatever.
Yeah.
So we do it that way, or we just start to say, hey, we haven't made let's say a Sati before, which is kind of this Finnish beer, if I remember correctly. And it uses different ingredients and different yeast and such in a traditional way. Let's try something completely different. We've never done this before.
Yeah. And is there like a great experiment you did recently that just really you're very proud of? Like, is there a favorite prototype?
Well, one prototype that then went on to a production beer that I like a lot, and it's very different from a lot of other beers, was our Lemonade. Comes out in the summer.
Okay.
But it's a lemonade beer. And a couple of things that are unique about it, because it really tastes like lemonade and a beer. Now, some people, they say, well, it's like a radler, which is a mixture of like lemonade or lemon soda, lemon lime soda with beer, and you just mix them. Well, this was designed to be more like lemonade than like just mixing beer and lemonade or lemon juice together. And I used some techniques that didn't require us to make a sour beer. I don't know if you've heard of sour beers. Your audience probably
heard of them, tried them, and
a lot of those are called kettle sours, and they're made by putting bacteria. It's usually a 2-day brewing process instead of one. So the first day is souring, and you do this with bacteria, very similar to the bacteria that's used in yogurt. In fact, some home brewers will put yogurt, take some yogurt out, put it in the wort to sour it. Then they boil it and add hops and then pump it into a fermenter. Well, that takes 2 days. Well, this lemonade beer uses just lemons to make it sour. Because lemons have enough sour as it already is. And then I also use some special all-natural extracts to kind of bring out the lemon zest and the aroma to it, and add a little bit of a sense of sweetness to it, so it's just not too puckery.
Yeah.
And so I think that was kind of a unique one that we did, and we prototyped it, figured out what ingredients, where to get them, how to source them, how to blend things together to get the exact flavors that we wanted in this lemonade.
And that just came from your brain as an idea, and then you put it to work?
Yeah.
And it's now on the menu.
Yes. Last year did okay the first time we introduced it, and this year better too. So we're kind of growing. We'd love to, like, now let's take some pink lemonade, do maybe a blueberry lemonade beer, and kind of have a whole series, kind of like, people do with the mixed seltzer packs and all this other stuff. You just have all these different flavors.
Is this part of the mandate of the brewmaster, the brewer, is to kind of push the boundaries a little bit, keep going, come up with something new and exciting, and stay on the cutting edge?
Yeah.
So this is craft beer making in essence.
In essence, yeah.
And is there a cutting edge right now for craft beer?
Oh, there's dozens of them, I guess.
Sure.
And I wouldn't say settling down, but it's kind of leveling off a little bit.
In terms of like the innovation?
Yeah, in the sense that it's not as Wild West as it used to be, because some people say, well, you've tried every kind of beer almost there is to make, and everybody's thrown every single fruit they've probably ever thought of in their life or every ingredient. Someone's made a beer with it, I could almost guarantee you.
Yeah.
And so now it's, how do you refine that instead of just throw anything in because no one's ever done it before? Then now let's take some of these ingredients and push it a little differently and make it a little bit more refined, a little bit more looking for what we think people want in a beer. We know they like fruit, and bitterness is being dialed down on it. So how do we kind of go after that and make something maybe still very fruity, but natural tasting, and try things like that out? Or all natural, organic. I mean, people have already done that, but they're pushing more into local. What can you do with local ingredients? People love to hear that. Low alcohol, non-alcohol, a big thing too. So a lot of people are getting so there's just all these different ones.
Do public's taste change as well? Because I think about, like, if you think about movies, like horror is having a moment. Is there something having a moment? Is there a taste that's having a moment now?
Yeah. Well, there's been a number. I can give you some ideas of what's happened just like in the last maybe 10 years. So IPAs were big. And about 10 years ago, New England IPAs came out, the hazy IPAs.
Yep.
And they're very popular, but they're not growing like they were. It's cooling a little bit. So that's one that kind of peaked. It's probably coming down or leveling off. Another couple that have kind of peaked and dropped way down at pastry stouts. Taking these big stouts and throwing chocolate in it, throwing hazelnut, pistachios, all sorts of nuts. Almonds. Making them out of candy bars, a Mounds stout or almond joy stout, or taking peanut butter or Snickers stout.
It's like ice cream.
Oreo. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You add anything to it, especially the chocolate type stuff.
Yeah.
Sours too were really big. People just took these souring process and they threw every fruit they could think of into it. Let's do lemons, let's do oranges, let's do kiwi, let's do dragon fruit, let's do acai. I mean, what pomegranate, all of these, and then start blending.
Cambrian explosion. This explosion of experimental tastes.
Yeah. So that one kind of peaked and it's coming down. And then it was really big for a while were Belgian beers, the Saisons, because they have kind of a unique yeast. That's one where the flavor is very yeast driven. The yeast are making these called phenolics, so the spiciness from a Saison is from the yeast itself. And so those were really big. And then there were lambic-like beers, which are mixed fermentation or wild organisms to ferment the beer. Those were big for a while, and Americans got into making it similar to what the Belgians did. Now that's kind of dropped down too. The one that's coming back is because lagers kind of disappeared. Once craft brewing kind of took off, all of the lagers, like with Budweiser, Coors, Miller's, all the really big macro companies make, they've been losing share for 30 years or so, at least in the U.S. Some other countries they've increased. In general, they've been going down. And craft beer came out and said, no, we're not going to make any of that fizzy, bland, yellow beer anymore. We're going to make the craft beer.
Yeah.
What are craft beer brewers, John? They're back making lagers. But we're making craft lagers now. What's the difference?
Yeah.
The macro beers, they're still made very well, and they went after a common denominator. I can't make a Budweiser beer. I can't make it like what they do.
Because it's proprietary process, or you just...
No, in part, but a lot of it is they've nailed the process down and the ingredients and everything that over 150, 200 years.
Just like a soda maker couldn't make Coca-Cola. Because they also have...
Yeah, I mean, they come close, of course. Pepsi is close to Coke.
Okay, yeah.
And we can make beers that to an average person is probably close, but not exactly.
Okay.
In consistency and price, we can't touch that.
Yeah.
I mean, we have one person makes 10 barrels in a day here, and these big companies have one person with computers and everything else can probably make 2,000 barrels in a day.
Wow.
The scale and the efficiency, we have nothing. So we'll never touch things with price.
Would you want to make a Budweiser?
No, but what I would like is to be able to have their consistency, because they've studied everything in their whole process. We don't. In fact, even though we have beers that come out all the time, they're made in our contract facilities, where they make the same beer over and over again fairly regularly. They can start fine-tuning things. We make a beer, most of the beers here, we'll make once a year. And then we'll change it the next year. So we can never get consistency here.
So are you saying like a hop hopping away, for example, there'll be some built-in inconsistency between...
There always is.
Okay.
So even Budweiser has that, but their consistency is really small.
It's a smaller thing.
Ours is bigger.
So if I had a hop hopping away today and I came back in November, would it be slightly different? Or?
Slightly, yeah.
Okay. Just because there's a little bit of inconsistency in the process?
The process, the ingredients are changing. So you come back like in November, most likely that's going to have a fair amount or be completely new batch of barley, possibly a new batch of hops, or the hops are a year older than they were if we made the hop the year before. So ingredients are changing. It's an agricultural process.
Sure.
It's like you buy an apple one day in the market, and you go back in the same company, same store, whatever. Hey, this apple is the same.
But it sounds like you value consistency, though. You'd like to, as much as possible.
As much as possible.
Yeah.
But then again, I also like what winemakers do. I mean, because your customer will say, wow, this beer, and I tasted this before, so it's nowhere near what you made last year. I just remember last year, I came in here, this is the greatest thing in the world. They sometimes will say that, I say, hey, this is just not the same, and we'll taste them, We say, well, there's a difference, but it's not like, wow, this is the greatest thing I've ever had, We don't get that. They occasionally do, But then other times, it's most people will taste it and say, hey, I can't tell the difference. And a lot of it is a person's taste varies. So if you drink coffee before you drink a beer, that's going to make the beer taste different.
Huh.
Even if you take the same glass, and they didn't tell you this, so you drank some beer, and then you drink your coffee, and then you drank the same beer, but they told you it was a different one. You say, yeah, this is different. I like the first one better. Because what you had before affects your taste.
Just like the mechanism is what the taste buds get. Why does that happen?
Well, emotions. If you're feeling good, you're going to taste something differently than if you're depressed or something.
Yeah.
Day to day, your changes and based on things we don't even know about yet. But your taste buds also get fatigued. So if you're tasting a lot of different things, after a while, they start all tasting the same because now your taste buds have been overloaded. You're reaching overload on it, and then they're going to start not recording. It was interesting. We had a guy come in to us who teaches, at the time he taught at Tufts, and he had worked at Budweiser for 20 or 30 years as a sensory expert. So he had a really good taste, but he also studied the whole process of sensory and tasting and such. And he says, what a number of different things Budweiser did to try to push their beers. I mean, they're looking for not just consistency, but drinkability. They want someone to drink a Budweiser, and each time you take a sip, it lingers on your palate a little bit, then goes away very quickly and says, hey, I'm ready for another one. Now, if you have something like chocolate milk that kind of coats your mouth, you usually don't have the same thing. And most people, certainly adults, can't drink a lot of chocolate milk anymore.
Yeah.
It's sweet. It's cloying. You drink some more, this was nice. I can't just drink this for, throughout the next 2 football games I'm going to watch on TV.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not.
So you want something that is kind of crisp, clean, and then that flavor drops off of your palate. But it says, yeah, I want more. It's kind of like this moist. So you end up taking another drink. So they're designing their beers to have this more and be balanced so that then you go out to the store. Oh, yeah, I really enjoyed those beers. I drank I found 10 of those, the other.
Right. Down like water.
Yeah, down like water. It tastes good. If I drink brand X, it's just not the same. I can only drink like 3 of those, and like really gassy or
Yeah, feel full or
yeah. So this guy says, and I don't know if I doubt he came up with this test, but he says, well, you should take your beer, and if you want to improve it, one of the things you got to do is do a DVT test. So what's that? It's called a descriptive volume test, DVT. He says you pour a pint, glass of beer, can of beer, whatever, and you take a couple of sips, 2, 3, 4 sips, and you describe the beer. What you like about it, what don't you like about it? What are the flavors you're getting? Things like this. How does it set in your mouth? This whole description of sensory that you take from it. You drink that beer down, not in a really long period of time, but 5, 10, 15 minutes, something like that. And then you open another one, take a few sips, and then you describe it again. And you do that until, you've had probably 8, 9, 10 beers. And it's incredibly unlikely that your results, what you write down, your description would be the same for all 10.
Sure.
Once you get down to 6 or 7, oh yeah, I'm just not getting that anymore. I'm not getting the flavor. It's lingering, I can hardly taste it anymore or whatever, you have this thing. And so you want to then go back to your beer. You see what people do, if your beer, and if you compare this to people drinking other beers that have this drinkability, they'll say, well, it stays fairly constant for a while before it goes down. We had this other beer over here that after 2, it was like that. What's the difference between that beer and the other one? Can we make our beer taste better and whatever it takes, that I want to drink more of it. And I want like 2 or 3 of them instead of quit after one. Because that's where most of the sales are. People repeat buying, repeat drinking.
Okay. Yeah. And drinking more in one session.
Exactly.
Okay.
If someone goes to a bar, then the general brewer doesn't want to sell one small glass of beer to a person. Then it's nice you go in and you order maybe 2 of them, or you only order their beer for the evening. If you look at a lot of craft beer drinkers, they go out. They rarely drink the same beer twice in an evening. They'll, look at what they've got. I want to try that one.
Exactly. That's what I do. Yeah.
I do
have
too.
3 or so, and it's a couple different IPAs and maybe something random. And
so there's kind of a little bit background on what people are trying to do on their beer.
Yeah.
It's not just, I want to try this. Well, okay, let's get a little more scientific. How are we going to sell more beer? What do we do to sell more beer?
Yeah. Well, we're still in the brew making area here.
Yes.
What else should we do? I'm in your hands.
Okay.
We want to try prototypes. Do we want to see anything else?
Let's try some beer since we're back here.
Right on. Twist my arm, I guess.
Yeah. So the other thing is, there's some craft beer brewer. He made this comment. He says, packaging is where craft beer goes to die. Put it in the keg, put it in the can or whatever. Because every time you do that, you're introducing oxygen to it from the air. You can't keep all of the oxygen out. You're shaking it up, you're moving it, but mostly you're getting air into it and other such. And it's higher surface area in the can or the keg or whatever. So it starts deteriorating. So the best beer ever is out of the tank.
Oh, interesting. So let's say it comes out of the tank at a 10. From 0 to 10, it's a 10. And then it gets into like a can. What are we talking? It goes from a 10 to an 8, an 8.5, 7?
It depends on the brewery, depends on the beer, the amount of oxygen, the type of beer.
So you could really mess it up. You could.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wow. So there's always going to be, so if you say that's where it goes to die, that means you gotta have quality control over that part.
Yes.
Otherwise you can blow the whole thing.
Yes.
Huh.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you keep a close eye on that.
We try to, yes. As that, yep.
Okay.
And so when I drink beer, I love it out of the tank. It's, like I said, to me, it's the best it's ever going to be.
I guess it's almost like pulling a tomato off of a plant or something. It's like right from the source. So when you drink, you don't go to the taproom. You go right to the
when I can,
container.
Yes. Now, this is me. I still drink that out of it.
Oh, yeah.
I like, in general, draft beer is fresher tasting if they clean the lines off. There's all these moving parts.
Yeah.
But assuming you go in the bar that takes care of the product, even in the keg, and the lines are clean, all that other stuff, draft beer is better than canned beer.
Okay, so
everything else being equal.
Got it.
Because it's a bigger container, it's easier to keep the oxygen out. It's usually cooled all the time. It's shipped cold in kegs, and it's usually, if they're taking care of it right, it's put in. Now, beer. Most of the beer you buy in the store, even if you buy it out of the cooler, most of those beers were sitting on a shelf or in the warehouse warm, and then they cool it just before you buy it, or a day or so before it gets there. It's been in the cooler.
Huh. And that process of warming, setting, the taste.
There are people who can taste, a beer that's been left out.
Oh yeah.
24 hours and then put back in the refrigerator.
So there's a spectrum of like taste sensitivity.
Yes.
And is this something you develop, or is there like some people, in music, they have a perfect pitch, and that's really just like genetic, biological?
It's both.
You can learn it a little bit.
You can learn, definitely you can learn a lot, but there's some aspects that is purely genetic. There's one thing that we taste for when we're doing our QC, we're tasting for faults in beer. There are a number of chemicals, flavors, aromas that can get into beer if you haven't waited long enough or you didn't brew it properly in the first place that come through. And they're called faults. And most of these faults can be at very low levels, chemically speaking, parts per billion which is a very, very small amount of something. You can taste it if it's in the beer.
Okay.
And some things are there at low levels, below our threshold, but they actually still make the beer taste better. But once you get above the threshold, then they become a fault. They can make the beer taste bad.
Okay. So like dose response.
Yeah.
There's a middle.
And different people have different sensitivities to these.
Okay.
So it's rare to have one person who is incredibly sensitive to every single fault. So I know some things I'm not super sensitive to. I'm good at, but I'm not fantastic. Sulfur is one. H2S. A lot of lagers have some sulfur, and you may not even know it's there, but if someone, oh yeah, I'm getting a little sulfur. Oh yeah. Diacetyl is another one. That's a flavor that comes from, it's very similar to it's a butter-like flavor for most people, the way they sense it. It's like the artificial butter that they use in movie theater popcorn. That flavor is diacetyl, and it can be found in beer. And so people try to make sure that that's aged out of the beer or not present in the first place. So, and there's other ones too, that are like that. There's DMS, dimethyl sulfide.
Okay.
Which is like, to most people, it tastes like creamed corn. Like you open a can of creamed corn. And that's because it's in the malt, the precursor, and then when it goes into the beer, it's turned into this dimethyl sulfide. But if you boil the beer long enough, when you're making it, all those precursors disappear. They boil away. And then there's none or an incredibly small amount left in the beer. And then it doesn't make it all the way to pack.
If you didn't get the boiling right or the temperature, someone make it through, and then you detect that as a fault in the QC. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So a number of the big macro brewers of long ago had what professionals call faults, but the average person doesn't detect it because it's at a low level. They've been trained for it and they're sensitive to it. Sure. But there were beers, Rolling Rock is one of them, that had this DMS in it. And at a low level that most people didn't say, oh, this is bad because it tastes like cream corn. But if you really thought about it and compared it, and most people could probably pick that up. So subconsciously, a lot of people picked up the Rolling Rock, this DMS flavor, and they liked it. So, the typical Rolling Rock beer person like this DMS.
Yeah.
Well, Budweiser bought the Rolling Rock out. And it happened to be that they ended up, Rolling Rock had this DMS because they had this, what they call a funky flue. So the chimney went up, it went sideways a long way before it went out of the building. Huh. So all of that stuff would boil up, but it wouldn't make it all the way out the chimney. The chimney was too long and too convoluted. So a lot of it just stayed or dripped back into the beer.
Yeah.
But when Budweiser transferred that recipe to their plant with the straight
different flow. And so then the cream taste that everyone loved went away?
Yeah, for the people who love that beer.
And was there like outrage and revolt?
Yeah, I don't know what the final thing was. I think they probably added some DMS to it or changed the chimney just for that beer.
Right.
So that.
How the hell did they figure that out? They just someone said, "Oh, what happened to the?" Well, did Rolling Rock know that it was their
must have had?
Yeah.
They must have known that.
And they were doing it deliberately. Otherwise,
well, maybe accidentally when they first started.
But then they're like, "We kind of like this."
Yeah, and they said, "Well, we can't change it now." Yeah, some new guy comes in. Yeah, you got to get rid of that. And he said, "Oh, why we're doing that? We know we tried that once. And then it didn't taste the same."
That's crazy.
Apparently, Budweiser didn't figure that out right away when they bought it.
Yeah, that's nuts. And Budweiser went back to it.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, I don't
wild.
know where it is now, but
that's wild. Sort of just these idiosyncrasies of the beers.
There's another one. This diacetyl shows up in a lot of Czech beers, and a lot of people. I'm sensitive enough to diacetyl, and I don't like that flavor. When I get it as beer, it's a big turnoff. But there are a number of beers, and one of them is Pilsner Urquell, shipped over here. In fact, it's the original Pilsner. Pilsner was invented like 1867 or something. I can't remember the date.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the few beer styles that we know who made it when they made it, and a lot of information about it. Well, they still make that beer today. So that company is still involved. Obviously, they've changed a lot of things. But one thing is that beer does have diacetyl in it. And that has to do with the way their yeast works and the ingredients and everything else. And sometimes I think when it's packaged, the diacetyl will increase a little bit. And it increases enough to some people taste it. Like me, like, oh, this is a bad batch. Well, to me, it's a very bad batch. But somebody else says, that's okay. Or they like the diacetyl flavor. So someone's fault may be another person's plus. So you've got a lot of people, that go to Czechoslovakia and say, they have some good beers there, but so many of them were diacetyl bombs. I just couldn't go. And there's other people, this Czech beers are the greatest beers I've ever had in my world.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's one of the things that differentiates Czech beers from a lot of other beers. But yet that DMS is also, if it's below threshold, it adds a nice roundness and fullness to the beer, which is actually good for even people who are incredibly sensitive diacetyl. As long as it's below their threshold, it synergistically works with other ingredients to make it taste good, but not actually taste like diacetyl. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, Matt, yeah, it's amazing. So what do you think? Should we try?
Getting dry.
Where are we heading now?
So I'm getting a couple glasses.
Okay.
And then we're going to try a lager because it's not as strongly flavored. So usually when you drink in the series, you want to try less flavored, crisper, cleaner, drier beers first, and then you go to more heavily flavored, sweeter, higher alcohol, things like that.
Okay, that's the progression.
Yeah, so we're starting with a lager, and it's a Dortmunder extract. And we're taking it right out of the tank. Lagers, the whole name lager comes from a German word for store. So lagers are aged longer than ale in general.
Okay. So you're pouring the beer straight from the fermenter?
From the fermenter,
This
yes.
very large, canonical shaped silver container.
Yes, and that's the port is a sample port, and it's got different names for it. But we poured it right out of that. This beer.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you, sir.
Yes.
All right.
So like I said, lagers are store. So lagers are aged. There are fermented colder temperatures than ales are. And they're fermented longer, and then they're also aged or lagered for a long period of time. So this beer is like 2.5 months old, something like that.
Oh, okay. It's been in that container that long?
Yeah, it's that long.
Wow. Wow, it's really good.
It's got a lot of malt flavor to it. There's still some bitterness, some hops to it.
Okay. What's the name of it up there?
So we haven't packaged all of it, but we have packaged some of it.
Mm-hmm.
In the beer, it's the Pro stuff.
Okay.
So it's a Dortmunder export beer.
This reminds me of, as I was thinking about preparing for this episode, I was thinking about the movie Sideways. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a movie for wine drinkers.
Yes, I've seen it. I love Pinots too. So
okay, yeah, no, that's his favorite. But there's a lot of scenes of tasting, and there's one great scene where the main character is introducing his friend to tasting, and the kind of how you look and then smell and gurgle. Is there something like that for beers?
Always start with aroma, and depending upon, if you're taking really serious notes, you'll maybe smell it for a couple of minutes and try to take a few sips. Some people even kind of cover it to try to get more aroma concentrated in there. And
okay. Yeah.
As soon as you sniff now, you replace some of it. So because you're trying to get the concentration of the aroma up a little higher so you can try to smell every little component in it.
Yeah, okay.
And then you also kind of taste it. Then you also can, you'll suck air into it too a little bit, because that also kind of volatilizes stuff in your mouth that you don't quite get by just smelling like this. Kind of chew it a little bit. So then at this point, you're trying to open up as much what's called retronasal aromas, which means aromas that come from behind in your throat, but it goes back up your nose. So a lot of your taste is the actual flavor tasting part, the only things you can taste are salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and the umami, which is more of a feel.
That's the only thing the taste sensory system can pick
The
up.
taste buds can get. So 90% of your taste, it's hard to do that with beer. So this guy I told you about that gave this, he talked about his DVT test.
Yeah.
When he came, he brought in these jelly beans. And he had all the standard colors, he had like black, he had yellow and green and red. And he says, so I think maybe the yellow one, he says, what we're going to do is I want you to take the jelly bean, hold your nose, put it in, chew it and swallow it and tell me what the flavor is. And then take your fingers off your nose and then tell me what you taste. So yellow, you're thinking, okay, lemon, take it into I really like lemon. That sounds something, but I don't know. Then you let go, and it's like it may be something like licorice or something, because you couldn't even taste it with your
So smell is
smell.
so important in taste.
Yes.
And without smell, your taste is compromised.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Big time.
Have you met people without the sense of smell? Maybe they lost it during COVID or something like that. Is their ability to appreciate?
Yeah, they usually don't appreciate. Well, a lot of older people lose their sense of smell too, and they'll get to the point where they think that that's a large part about a lot of the older people don't want to eat anymore. They're not as interested in eating is because they can't smell it as much or as well or at all anymore.
So much of the appreciation of the things we eat and drink, we have thanks to our smells.
Yeah.
And we lose it, and you're no longer a foodie, or food's just
Exactly.
fuel at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting.
You have a cold, you can't taste things quite the same either. Things don't taste quite as good usually.
If you get a cold, does that kind of put you at a disadvantage for your actual job?
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to taste as well.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like a rock climber hurting their arm or something.
Yeah, it definitely does. And you have to try to compensate for this. So, well, I know there's probably other stuff in there, but I'm not getting such and such,
Is there ways to enhance it? Because I know there's singers who have special sprays that they use for their vocal cords when they get, overused. Any ways you enhance or?
Nah, nothing I know of.
Yeah.
Blow your nose to try to get a little bit of air into it. Just completely right. Yeah. You're completely clogged and you can't even. You got to breathe a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this was delicious.
This is one of my favorite beers that we've made recently.
Crow style.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this beer style is not too different from the fest beer served at Oktoberfest in Germany.
Okay.
You've probably had Oktoberfest beers in the U.S.
Yeah.
Most, not all, but most Oktoberfest beers in the U.S. are an old style of Oktoberfest beer. Ones that they don't even serve at the Oktoberfest in Germany anymore. They're sweeter, they're a little bit maltier because they're a Märzen style. And the current beer they serve in Germany at the Oktoberfest is called, they just call it Fest beer. It's not Oktoberfest, it's Fest beer. And it's at the Wiesen, which is like the name of the place where they serve it at Oktoberfest, the hall and the area.
Yeah, everyone has the big drinks.
Yes. And that beer, over time, they found out that another one, the drinkability.
Yeah.
It's about the same alcohol, but it's drier. It's got a little bit higher bitterness. So it's not quite as sweet, so it's much more drinkable. And so that's what I like about this, because this is more like the German Fest beer. It's much closer to that than the average American Oktoberfest beer. We do have our Oktoberfest beer on as well. I drink this over that one, because I can drink more of this one, and it's just cleaner. I take a drink
It is
and
clean.
wow,
Yeah.
I want another one.
Yeah.
The other one after a few, it's nice, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drink it very fast. I won't drink as much.
Yeah. High drinkability of this one. So what else? How do you go up the ladder, I guess?
Well, let's go we're going to stay with tanks right now. So we're going to go over and get some, an IPA. And this is the one I holders, the New Zealand hops.
Yeah.
So
This is the bright tank?
yeah, this is a bright
Okay.
tank. So the other one was a fermenter, and this is a bright tank. Now this beer is not on. We haven't packaged any of this yet.
When do you expect to?
I think it's going to be this week yet.
Oh, right on.
It is finished. It's completely done.
Meaning it's done here and it's not like
Yeah, we're
in
just-
a keg or packaged.
Yeah, and it's already carved. It's aged. It's at the right temperature. It's been cooled, and it's all that. So
Ready to
it's
burn.
all ready.
Yeah.
So we just have to have the time so that we can package it.
Do you do announcements on maybe social or other places like, okay, the New Zealand IPA is ready to go kind of thing?
We do some stuff. It's gotten better. It used to be we hardly ever announced.
Just ends up on the menu and
It just ends up on the menu. But now it's like, come on, let's do it.
totally.
I
Yeah.
mean, we have an event space here. And so when we first started everything, we had already been brewing beer for a while before the tap room opened. And then when the tap room opened, everything happened. Yeah, we might push it out in the market, but it was less beer focused. It was all everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we still have that reputation of not so much a brewery. It's more, I go to Aeronaut, well, yeah, the beer's okay, but they always have this great band, right? This. I go there for
Yeah,
the trivia.
the food. There's
Yeah.
4 restaurants or so
Yeah.
over there, and yeah, there is a lot of events.
So this is obviously the style difference is so much. I mean, this is fruity.
I love this. Yeah, this is amazing.
Now this is a little sweeter now too. I don't find this quite as drinkable. After I have like 1 or 2 of these, I've had enough. I can
Right.
drink those. I'm still okay at, but I still love this.
Yeah. So what else are we tasting in this?
Wow. So the New Zealand, this has some special hops. So we talked about ingredients a little bit.
So usually the hops
The hops.
legit
Yep.
came from New Zealand
Mhm.
with South Island and North Island.
I'm not certain. I've never been to New Zealand, so I'm
I
not.
studied abroad there, so it's just
Okay.
yeah. We drank a lot of beer there. But no, it wasn't.
How long
the
ago
right
was that?
quality. That was 2004.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I think the beer's improved a lot.
Has it?
since then. Yeah.
Yeah. Has there been a craft beer
Yes.
development there as well?
And the hops in this beer were not in existence in 2004.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So one of them, this has 2 of my favorite hops, and they're kind of unusual for hops in terms of flavor. I mean, all hops have a different flavor,
Yeah.
but they kind of fall into different groups. And I think the 2 hops in this one are kind of like much more different than a lot of the other
Different,
ones.
better, in your opinion?
Better? Yeah, not better than everything. I mean, Citra is a hop I love, but there are a lot of other hops that are kind of like Citra. Mosaic, to me, they're kind of in the same. They're different, but they have similarities. So this has Nelson Sauvin hop,
Okay.
which has a much more of a white winey type flavor to it. Some even say maybe like a little bit of a gooseberry or something. And it also has Rawaka hops in it. And Rawaka it's got something that's kind of like some of them have almost like a diesel-y type taste, and almost dank. It's hard to describe what the fruit is like, the passion fruit maybe too.
Yeah.
But it's different when you put these 2 together, and it's like, geez.
Definitely. It's surprising.
Yeah.
Um,
And there's
really flavorful.
yeah. And they're pretty unique. I don't know how they've done this, but obviously they have hop breeders, and their hop breeders somehow went off in the direction that's a lot different than all the hop breeders in the U.S. and even Germany and England and other places where hops are bred.
Do you have a sense of like, do you go hop hunting? Do you know what hops are in different areas? And how did you hook up with New Zealand and their hops? Like, how did that come on your
Well, you can buy them in a lot of different places here.
Okay.
However, this Rawaka hop 6 years ago or so, maybe it was 7, it was very hard to get. They weren't growing as much, but also when they harvest hops, they have fairly short windows in which to harvest a hop. And ideally, they like to have all of their hop types that have different harvest dates or harvest windows.
Yeah.
Because if they all have the exact same 2-week period in September or whatever, week and a half period, they don't have enough equipment and people and everything else to harvest all of those. So if they can spread it out, with different varieties, one, it's at the end of August, one like the first week of September, and, up until whatever, 6-8 weeks, whatever that harvest, it divided out. It's much easier.
Yeah.
Well, the Nelson Sauvin hop took off first, and people wanted gobs of that. Well, it happens to have the exact same window that Riwaka does. And Riwaka doesn't have the same clout or popularity that Nelson Sauvin does. To me, I don't know. I almost like them in reverse order, but hops are polarized. Some people love one and hate another. Some people, whatever.
Huh.
So it took a while so that they could grow enough and have enough desire for it and enough farms and did more Riwaka.
Yeah.
So I kept looking, trying to figure out where can I get Riwaka hop. And other people had that trouble back then too. And then one time, kind of out of the blue, this woman sends me an email and said she works with this hop farm in New Zealand called Eggers Farm. And she's a salesman for them. And she had been up in I don't know if she lived here or not, but she certainly had spent time in this area and she knew Aeronaut. And she said, hey, are you interested in getting any of our hops? And I said, you ever walk out? Yes, we do. He said, I could send you a box. So we'll have to send it to you from New Zealand.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't cheap. So I'm going to take a chance for this other hop.
Yeah.
And so they sent this box to us. Well, meanwhile, since then, this farm, Eggers, 3 or 4 years after that, it's like right after the pandemic, one of the owners, Clem Eggers, came up from New Zealand. He had opened up a warehouse on the West Coast that stocks his hops. And then they actually will send the hops from the warehouse in the West Coast, send them out to different places. So he came by, and the first time that I'd ever met him, he came by and he says, he brought 2 beers. He brought one from a brewery in North Carolina, maybe it's Virginia, but the guy who brews beers there is really into hoppy beers like this.
Yeah.
And this Clem had come there and had given or sold them a special form of Riwaka hops. Because if you take different plants, they all taste a little bit different. And he had this one plant that he really loved. He said, the Riwaka from this plant is just more Riwaka-y than the other one.
Yeah.
So he took that and he cloned it and got an acre or 2 of the hops. And he liked that so well. So he had this very good IPA brewer called Sapwood Cellars. And they did a collaboration with Fidens, the brewery in Albany. And both of them make very good IPAs. Yeah. So he brought a can of this and this has this ESH1 clone of Riwaka in it. I tasted this. Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved it. And so I said, I want some of that hop next year. What can I do to get a box of this one?
Right.
So he says, I'll see if I can get you some of it, And so luckily enough, he did. So that's what's in this is this ESH1 Riwaka hop.
Amazing.
From the guy came up to us. And so he's got a whole bunch of other hops this year that he's supposed to send me samples of different smaller lots that he's done in these different hops.
And you're going to prototype those?
I hope so. That's the plan.
Nice.
I haven't gotten the hops yet.
Right. And so you'll run them all through your process, and there'll be a winner, or there'll be something you want to.
Yeah, and hopefully he's got enough of those left that we can order some, because it's very limited.
Yeah, right.
So that's what people who have big enough breweries and have enough clout, they'll send people out to the West Coast, New Zealand now, and even Australia to pick hops, or over to Germany for lager hops to pick hops, because you do the screw up test, you smell the hop, and you try to pick out which ones that you like better, that that will work better with your beer, or the ones you designed the beer for in the first place, and then they get changed a little bit. Oh, this is what I made my beer originally. It was 5 years ago, and it's never been the same. I want that lot.
Yeah.
And people sign up to get that lot, and they'll, get, I don't know, boxes and boxes of it.
So what next?
We're going to try this same beer, but it doesn't have the 2 New Zealand hops in it. It's got another, but this is an American hop, Talus.
With so it doesn't have the New Zealand hops. It has a different kind of hop?
Yeah.
Okay.
So everything else is the same. So it's a side stream. I told you, we brew a big batch and we take a little bit of it and we put it over here.
Okay.
But the big batch had all these New Zealand hops. This one has this relatively new American hop called Talus. And it's totally different. So this one is like, really in your face and all this. This other one is a little smoother, softer, and different flavor, and it doesn't just jump out at you, but it's still pleasant.
Okay. Is that one on the menu yet?
No, neither one of these are on the menu.
It's coming out soon as well, you think?
Yeah, we'll probably package that this week or next week.
Okay, cool.
What did I do? So this is that same beer. Everything's the same except for the dry hop, the hops that we added to the fermenter itself.
It's got that the hop starts with the T, I think you said.
Yeah,
Tilium, or
the hop is called Talus.
Talus. Okay. Totally different taste.
Totally different.
Yeah. It's definitely not as intense, I guess, as the last one. The robustness, but it's a little lighter, I guess you could say.
Lighter, I call it maybe just a little bit softer too.
Yeah, soft is good. It's still really good though.
Yeah.
Still an IPA.
They should have had this one first. I think you kind of go this.
I see. Yeah.
Still an IPA.
This is like a hug. That other one's more like a shove or something.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It's pleasant.
For sure. It is softer, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this hop would be better to blend with some other hop by itself. It's probably doesn't cut it for a
When you
beer with it.
When you taste a beer, do you imagine possibilities? Like new concepts? You're like, oh, I can have a little bit of this, or too much of that, or yeah,
blend this in. Maybe do this and blend it in. I don't think it would go with the New Zealand ones, but it might go with some other American hops.
So you said these are going to come out soon. Do you have names for them yet?
Well, prototypes, we don't name them. We number it. So P for prototype, and this one's 582.
And the other one is P581 or something?
Well, the big one is New Zealand IPA. That's the name of it.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then, so when does it get to, this is the name on the menu?
Well, we made this beer before already.
So it has a name already?
Yeah, it already has a name.
Okay.
It's called New Zealand.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
that's the name. And it's kind of a style, too, in a sense.
Got it. And then do you have a name for this one yet?
No, it's just going to be P582. If we scale it up, then we give it a name.
For real? Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, so we'll put it on the sign. We don't have any prototypes up there now, but we'll put P582 up there, and then we'll have like the style name, New England IPA with the Talus hops.
So I've come in here so many times that I've never
Really never seen that.
Well, I'm sure I have. I just not sort of savvy enough.
Yeah.
But I will now. So
Yeah.
I can come in and try something that's being prototyped.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then we put the number like that. So even if people want to check it in on Untapped, it'll be listed there as P582, New England IPA. It did a little bit of a description.
And then who actually names it after it's ready?
All of us do.
You kind of sit around?
Kind of, yeah. We'll sit around or propose names for it. So it's kind of like the brewers, the head bar staff, our social media person. Those are the typical ones that try to name it. And then the owners have their input too, whether, they go along with it or not.
Okay.
Especially if it goes into a can. That's a higher level to me. Because here, it can be a one-off, even doing a production, we may not never make the beer again. So.
Right. I heard there's kind of a story behind the year of Dr. Nandu. How does that one come about?
So that was like, we had one of the very first beers we ever made was called A Session with Dr. Nandu.
Yeah.
And this Dr. Nandu is a radiologist who used to teach courses at MIT. And he was a friend of the people who started.
Yeah.
And so the owners had classes, but I think they mostly just would go out and drink with him and such, because you like to drink beer and everything.
Yeah.
They told him they were going to make this brewery and such. He goes, "Oh, I got these great ideas mostly for swag, it wasn't like for the beer or such." So, and he had like one that gets repeated enough. I've met the guy a few times, but I never really had any sessions with him. But he says, "We can do sloth hats." Sloth hat? What are you talking about, sloth? Yeah, you just take a sloth and you wrap it around your head. And you drew pictures of the sloth. This is what you got to do. You got to sell these sloths. Yeah. It's just because the guy's just kind of off the wall with it. So they decided, well, we're going to call it Session with Dr. Nandu. And then our current beer was the first anniversary, because every year we've come up with an anniversary beer. So our first anniversary beer was a year with Dr. Nandu.
Yeah.
And then every year now it comes 11 years with Dr. Nandu, or next year will be 12 years with Dr. Nandu.
Nice. Is Dr. Nandu still around?
He went to Texas for a while, but he hasn't been back. Came back about a year ago, and I think he was in a band and played here too, if I remember right. Wow. Yeah, I got to see him, talk to him a little bit. I don't know if he's been in since then. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you better come back for the 20th anniversary or something.
Yeah, really. Yes. It gives the names all over the place.
Yeah, totally.
Well, we're out of beer that are ready and worth tasting from our prototypes, but we've got some up on tap that we can go if you want to try.
Yeah, sure.
A couple other things.
I'm in your hands.
We'll go back light. We already hit the IPA, but we're going to do like a grisette. There's a lot of beers that come in at around 5% alcohol that are, most American macro lagers are 5% or thereabout. This is a beer that's 5% or a little bit less, 4.6. So this is Griselda, and it's a grisette. So this is a Belgian style. So it's a little bit like a Saison, but lower alcohol. This is 4%.
Okay.
And it's you can see it's light color, and you can smell the aroma, and you taste and so this is a beer that's very, I always said, there's a lot of different styles, and it's hard to remember all the different styles. Mm-hmm. But one easy way that you can put almost every beer into like 4 or 5 styles of beer. So the first one we had is kind of like a balanced beer, a balanced lager beer. It's not really super hoppy. It's not really super malty. It's not really strong. It's not super flavorful, like intense flavors. And that's kind of like what all the macro lagers are. This obviously, I think it's better. It's got more flavor. Yeah. And it still kind of fits that. That's one with sort of the balance and such. Then you have the hoppy ones, like we just had.
Yep.
You have the malty ones, and those are like the stouts and double box and things like that. And then there's sours, like I talked about the lemonade beer, and we also have some other sour beers.
Yep.
And then there's Belgian beers, this one. And this is yeast-driven flavors. So this is yeast. So most of the flavors coming from the yeast in this. It's hard to describe what phenols taste like. We use the term phenolic, but it's kind of spicy, a little bit spicy. Sometimes you might get clove or bubble gum out of it as well.
Yeah. How does one develop the vocabulary to talk about beer like that?
You drink a lot, and then you see what do people call these, and read a lot.
Yeah,
you read, and then you got to drink it and say, oh yeah, I see what they mean by
and make the match. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it took years to get some flavors,
Really?
Yeah.
What's one that took you a long time?
Lambics have something called funky, and it's Brett, so it's this wild yeast, and some people call it like a wet horse blanket in a good way. I mean, I've had wines where it's tobacco and road tar. So,
you wouldn't think that'd be a good thing.
It wouldn't be a good thing, but
yeah.
I mean, you kind of see it when you taste it, and they say, yeah, I see that, and I can see how it's kind of good because it's a low level and it's not super overpowering. Yeah, overpowering.
Yeah.
Too petrol-y or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was this horse blanket. from the Brett and kind of barnyard, funky. Those are the terms.
And is this something you're kind of like developing your palate, developing your taste a little, and that's something that is part of the profession, part of the craft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have courses that will teach you on how to taste and sensory and beer with these different flavors.
In Boston, do you know of it?
Yeah, there's some of them are done through home brew clubs that meet up with the home brewing can be judged. Even professional beers, you can go to contests and get your beers judged.
Yeah.
Brewers do that too. Well, they need judges in order to taste it.
Sure.
And the Beer Judge Certification Program, BJCP, of the U.S. has people who will like give courses or do training and such. So you can eventually be a judge if that's what you're interested in. There's also a Cicerone program, beer Cicerones, where you become an expert and you have a certificate saying that you know different flavors of beer, how to serve beer, a lot of stuff about the service side.
Is that like a sommelier?
Exactly. It's the beer counterpoint to the sommelier.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw a documentary called Somm, SOHM, about sommelier training.
No.
And it's a really good documentary, but it kind of shows, like, I think 4 people who are trying to get their certification. And it's like notoriously difficult process that took like a year of studying.
Yeah.
A year of intense studying. And it shows like them, tasting the beer and looking for all little intricacies of them. And they can name where it's from and, the grape field in the country and the section of it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is the same level of like detail and intricacy for beer? Are people naming like the hops where they come from and stuff?
No, most of it's based on the style of beer. So like lagers, there's dozens of different beers. Because I just told you one today, you probably hadn't heard of the Dortmunder export beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people have to say, okay, you have to know how does a Dortmunder export beer differ from a Helles, from a Pilsner, from a Märzen, and all these different ones. And then because they have 100 different beers at this point, different beers, and they have a style, and they have a whole thing written about these. So you have to study and have these different beers, and hopefully you can, when you test, you can't get too many wrong.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not a specific hop. They won't ask you, what's the hops in this beer that you're tasting?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Maybe they've changed it, but in general, they just want you to be able to at least get the major beer down, right?
Yeah.
So those 4 categories are kind of interesting. Sour, kind of like balanced or beer tasting beer, as some people say that. The malty ones, which include stouts and sour, and then the Belgians.
Belgians, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So we're behind the bar and just looking at these are taps.
Yeah,
right.
These are taps.
These are all the things that are on tap.
Yeah, we have
right
what,
now.
16-ish?
Oh, okay, yeah.
16, maybe it's 15. Wow, let's see. We haven't gotten into the dark ones yet. Maybe we do that because we only have one really dark one right now. So we're going back to lagers again. And so this one is a Mexican lager called Swarm. So Mexican lagers, well, you've probably had Corona already.
Yeah, sure.
Well, this is a darker Mexican lager. It's like Dos Equis. If you've had their Double X, that's kind of a brown ale. This is kind of more of that style.
Okay.
So it's maltier. Let's get a little bit more caramel. Maybe even a little biscuity or toffee type flavors to it.
And we're looking in terms of the it almost looks like a light coffee color.
Yeah.
Yeah, brownish.
Yeah. Originally, when the Germans came over to Mexico and started breweries like they did in the U.S. in the 1800s, a lot of them apparently came from Austria. and Vienna in particular. And those people who set up breweries wanted to brew the beer that they liked in Vienna, and it was called a Vienna lager. Well, they didn't keep the name Vienna, but the beer style has stayed there, whereas it disappeared in Austria and most of the rest of the world, but it stayed in Mexico. That's kind of like what this beer is.
Yeah.
But this beer has some other flavors in it that maybe you're not picking up right away, and it's a little bit more subtle. But this has a honey in it. This is a honey lager as well. And this has an Oaxacan forest honey in it, which is kind of a robust honey that adds complementary flavors to the malt.
It's really good. Well, it's interesting. Usually when I come in here, most breweries, I'll go for the IPAs, and I don't know. That's been my jam for a long time. But this conversation, this tasting, has already expanded my possibilities. I don't know. I kind of maybe had a comfort zone.
Yeah.
And a Mexican lager.
Yeah.
Wasn't on it. And this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like doing that with people? With beer enthusiasts being like, check out this whole world of options. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already expanded probably what I'll think about later on.
Mm-hmm. So when people come in and say, yeah, are you, and if you explain the beer to them, it usually makes them say, yeah, I can see that. I can see why it's that way. And it just gives them, I do that when I go places and people tell me, oh, you have this wine or this beer and we did this. I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Yeah. I would have never probably ordered it either. They say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Give me your latest New England IPA or Pilsner or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll do some other weird stuff as well. We've already done 2 IPAs. We'll go to, this is a strong one, or a little bit smaller samples. So this is a triple. So this is another Belgian beers have some of the most unique beers, I think, on the planet. So you have like the Saison, like we just kind of had that Rosette. This is a triple, which was kind of Belgium's answer in some respects to the Pilsner. So you can see it's very light and it's fairly hoppy. It's got some decent hopping to it, but it's also incredibly strong. This is 9.3%.
And this is the name again is?
The style is triple, but the name of this beer is Roaming Giant. Over here, Belgian triple. And not only does this have the yeast flavor coming through, but it also, we have some orange peel in it. We have some grains of paradise in it.
Yeah, and Belgian candy sugar.
Mm-hmm. It's made from beet sugar, so it has a little bit different taste than cane sugar or table sugar, but not a lot. But
yeah, I really like that.
This is pretty drinkable too. Usually as beers get higher percent alcohol, they become less drinkable because the alcohol burn kind of hits your throat. And the alcohol's here, but it's somewhat hidden. And it's also drier than a lot of big beers this style are. So it's reasonably drinkable, but it'll give you a buzz a lot faster.
Totally. Have a couple of these. You're going to be feeling it.
Yep.
As a brewer, as a taster, how do you manage like getting buzzed or drunk? Like, how do you try to stay in that safety zone?
Try to drink small amounts.
Just because you don't need a lot if you're sampling.
No, in most days we only taste 1 or 2 beers, so but we have people in or something, then that's the issue.
Have a little fun.
Yes, have a little fun.
But like,
you want to try all these things? Are fantastic beers.
You got a good job, man. Yeah. It's not like making chocolate,
Right.
This one it affects the nervous system.
I actually have more trouble with coffee because just having more than like 1 or 2, then I got this buzz. Yeah. And then I don't sleep well at night. I love coffee, but now I have to be careful.
Well, for me, it's just 12 p.m. Anything after that, I won't
That's pretty much me too.
Be sleeping, yeah.
Yeah. For beer, it's a little different. It's a little more forgiving, but a little more.
Yeah. Speaking of like the health aspects of it, my little peccadillo, so to speak, is reflux. So if I have 3 IPAs, I love it. It's delicious. It was a great Saturday, but I may pay for it. So it's like Tums and Prilosec if you could get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Do you deal with any of those types of things?
I do a little bit with that,
Yes.
with the sours, especially the Belgian mixed wild beers. I was talking about lambics and some of those. Yeah, I'll have some of that too.
Yeah.
Try not to do it on an empty stomach in the tongue, and don't drink as much. Drink it slower and
Right.
drink as much. A friend of mine has it so bad he can't even drink some of them. It's just, and then he stopped to have a sip or two. I can't do that one.
Wow. He knows right away.
Yeah, he knows right away.
Wow.
And he loves the flavor of some of them. They say, I just can't.
Interesting. Are there any like positive health benefits to beer drinking?
Sometimes it's compared to other drinks, to wine or whiskeys, the mixed or the higher alcohol. I have trouble drinking the whiskey, especially neat, such the stomach thing. And I don't know, I think some of the other things that come out of the concentrated from the still, the congeners and other higher alcohols and such, just don't work well with bodies, I think. They just seem to be coming out with more and more negative information on alcohol all the time. But it's interesting. I talked a little bit about how people with beer brewing came out, that they started civilization. But one of the other things they think that not only it helped civilization settle down by growing by settling down so you could grow the barley to make it into beer, but also just getting drunk has a very positive influence on kind of keeping people together. And I can't remember the name of the book I read, but it's a fascinating read how he goes through history and says, almost all cultures have had, not just beer, but some type of alcohol. Beer is pretty big throughout, like all Western Europe.
Pretty socially accepted.
Yeah, socially accepted.
Yeah.
Is that so many of these dynasties and empires that arose had drinking was a huge core of their civilization. And they think, because it affects your mind in different ways.
Disinhibits you, makes you a little more social.
More social, friendly. Some of them hadn't signed any contracts unless they got drunk with the other person, some more, it's another thing or anything like that. So, and it's almost in every single culture there were some that rebelled against it, but most of those had it earlier on when they were developing.
Yeah.
And that's is huge in terms of people getting along with other people, and that it probably wouldn't have happened if we didn't have alcohol and other things to bond over. And I have friends too. It says, there's a lot of bad things about alcohol, but socially and I like the flavor. I'm going to moderate it, but I'm not going to give it up.
Right. And I feel like, the United States during Prohibition, they tried a very interesting experiment, which is like maybe, alcohol is causing a lot of problems in society. So we'll ban it.
Ban it, yeah.
But that
was
horrible. Like, it didn't go right. Like, people rebelled, so we needed it. Like, society needed it to some degree.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something like loosens us up.
Yes, this is socializing. And people think that with COVID too. Yeah. That a lot of the Gen Z people just don't have the same social skills, and part of it is they're not drinking when they get older, and they haven't been around people, but it all kind of flows together.
Yeah, one of my questions too is thinking about younger generations. They seem to be moving away from alcohol and going to things more like cannabis and seltzers and things like that.
Yeah, more abstaining completely.
Totally. Yeah. I wonder what you think of that.
Well, from a brewer, I want people to drink more beer, of course. But I think it's just like a whole spectrum of stuff that people are getting into. I mean, we have seltzers here, so we spend a fair amount of time, trying to make seltzers and such.
Right.
So as a chemist and a scientist, I say, hey, it's all great, but my love is still beer. So I'd rather drink beer than to drink a lot of these other kind of newer stuff. I don't drink alcohol-free beer. So it tastes kind of okay, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I want a beer, I want a beer. Otherwise, I'll drink water or just plain seltzer or, something like that.
Right.
So, I drink wine and other stuff too, but if I'm drinking something non-alcohol, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be water.
What else?
We'll do a couple more. So
Okay.
let's do a non-beer.
Yeah, what do you mean by non-beer?
It has no barley in it, no hops.
Got it. Okay.
So you can ferment sugar to alcohol, and you don't need to make it from grain. To be beer, you have to use grain.
Okay.
And I think some of the laws may say you have to use hops. Not quite certain. But this is made with corn sugar, yeast, and you have to get a special yeast that can ferment just corn sugar because it has no nutrients in it. So we have to add nutrients, get a special yeast, and ferment it. And then in this case, we added pink guava and wine.
And this is the guava limeade?
Yes.
Okay. It's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's no sugar in it. Wow. There was sugar in it fermented out, but all the sweetness is more of a perceived sweetness.
Man, I've been living with IPAs too long. This is crazy. There's a whole universe out there. Yeah.
We had some beer drinkers. One of them came in recently and said, "This is the best thing he's ever had. He said, this is better than any of the beers I've ever drunk. I like beer." And he said, "This is great."
I do not hate this. Yeah, this is delicious. So 5.2%.
Yeah.
So a hard seltzer.
Yeah.
And then how does a hard seltzer differ from like a sour?
So a sour is actually soured. So even if you tasted a sour beer before the fruit was added to it,
It would taste what?
sour. If you tasted this base alcohol seltzer part, it doesn't taste sour. It just tastes kind of like vodka almost. It's kind of like that. So sours are actually made sour, whereas our seltzer, what sourness there is or tartness comes from the fruit only. It doesn't come from the brewing process.
Okay.
So we do have a sour up there if you want to try it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll do one of those as well.
And so you brewed these? Team.
Our team brewed these. In fact, some of these recipes aren't mine either. Helen's done a lot of them.
Is she a brewer as well? Or?
Yeah, she's got a production brewing. So she does most of the brewing, and we have an assistant who just started, assistant brewer, attributed brewing. I don't do much physical brewing anymore.
So this is Tropical Swarm?
Yeah. Well, there used to be a lot more red colors in it. That's why I had to look at it.
Tart with blood orange, passion fruit, pineapple, papaya. Wow, this one's packed.
Guava, cherry, and blackberry.
Blackberry.
It's got everything in it. So this has definitely a little bit different sour taste than what the other one did. The seltzer is cleaner, I would say.
Yeah.
And the fruit just kind of pop a little more.
Yeah.
This has the fruit and this kind of meld together and come up. It's not as, can't pick the different flavors out. The sourness has a different quality to it too, to me. Yeah. Most of the sourness in this one comes from lactic acid, whereas in the guava, limeades come from citric acid. And the acids can taste a little different too.
Is that something you can taste for? You can know which one's lactic versus citrus? Yeah.
Sometimes I like the citric acid version better. Sometimes I like these better. In this one, I like the guava seltzer better than I like the truffle.
Has your taste and preferences changed over your life? Yeah.
Yeah. I used to like maltier things in general.
Yeah.
And I could drink a lot more of a malty beer, like that, like the Swarm we had.
Yeah.
I can't drink as much of those anymore. I want something crisper and lighter for more drinking. I'll drink one of those, a small one.
Is that almost like one's taste in music? How that changes?
I think so.
What do you think that is? This you change as a person and the self changes?
Well, there's trends all the time. Do you think people's basic genetics isn't changing?
Yeah.
And so for some reason, you either got tired of the old stuff and it's new. Sometimes it's new ingredients, like the new IPA. Those hops never existed before.
Yeah.
So that's all new.
New taste, yeah.
Yeah, that's a new taste. I definitely see that. But I'm liking lagers more now because I'm getting a little fatigued on the IPA.
Yeah.
And so I'll like a really crisp Pilsner, like that Dortmunder export is very crisp. and I just hits the spot better.
When you like, say you're off the clock and you sit down here at the bar, how do you decide what to drink?
Yeah, it's difficult every day. I go, God, do I want something crisp? Oh, this one just came on. I should try that. We'll see how that one drinks.
So
part of it's doing it from from the professional standpoint, and sometimes it's like, oh God, I want something fruity. I want an IPA tonight. What's the newest one, or what do I want out of that?
Yeah.
And usually the ones we make here are new and we haven't had before, because I know what year and Andrew tastes like, and hop and nose. And
Oh, I have a really specific question. Are you able to like conjure up a taste in your brain without drinking it? Like if I said right now, could you conjure up the taste of hop and away? Can you do that?
yeah, in a sense, yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like a mind's tongue.
in a way, yeah. Especially if it's something I've had a fair amount. I can't do that with, we had this one beer for our 50th anniversary that we made, and we've never been able to make it again. We can't get the exact ingredients, but people still come to me. It was 2.8%, kind of a session IPA, very fruity. It was a little bit like that New England in terms of how it really hit you.
Yeah.
2.8%. Oh, but I can't conjure that one up anymore. But I just remember
We lost it.
so good.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I've never been able to repeat it.
So that one's lost to your memory.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's almost like how if you try to picture your old high school or picture a childhood friend,
Yeah.
that visual degrades a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like the taste.
The taste does too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. Okay. Then we'll do one more because it's malty, and this is our pumpkin beer.
Oh, cool.
You can try it.
Okay. Yeah.
You got enough there for you to try.
Whoa.
I can't drink a whole lot of that one anyhow. I don't know whether you can.
That's very pumpkin-y.
Yes.
Very good taste, It's almost like candy corn or something.
Yeah, we put some natural flavors in it as well to kind of boost the caramel and the got a little bit of butter rum extract flavor in it as well.
Yeah.
Kind of gives it it also has pumpkin spices in it, pumpkin pie spices in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I could probably only have one of those before
Yeah.
you feel like you're saturated with that taste. Yeah. Cool.
Well, we'll do one more. Let's we'll end on a big IPA.
Yeah, why don't we
Anything else?
maybe we'll just have a pour and then just end at the table, sit at the table, and
Sure.
sounds good. And what's this one called?
King Louis.
King Louis?
Yeah.
All right.
So we actually, before you taste that one,
Yep.
we'll do the Old Skies too. I
Okay.
have to tell you the story. So, Old Skies was the first beer. And then we wanted to make a double IPA of it, or something much stronger.
Okay.
And that's what King Louis is. So this one came first, Old Skies. And
Skies.
it's called Orangutan Skies.
Okay.
And the name came about, people were just riffing on stuff a little bit and said, I really like the Beatles song, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. But we'd like to do this like orange colored beer. And so they go, orange in the sky, there's some orangutan sky. So
like that.
That's where the name came from. Kind of crazy. So we had that, and then people liked the beer. This one has kind of faded out, and we brought it back a little bit and changed the recipe a little bit. But then like I said, we wanted to do a bigger version of it, because a lot of people really like the Old Skies, Orangutan Skies.
Yeah.
And then we're making the orangutan, that he's kind of a king, or orangutan. So the guy in the Jungle Book is King Louis.
Okay.
And this is an Imperial IPA. King, Imperial, is orangutan. Why don't we call it King Louis? So that's the name.
Writes itself. Yeah.
Yeah. And we hadn't brewed this in a while, so we tweaked the recipe a little bit this year. And people just love this one, the King Louis.
Fit for a king.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask was your background. You started out, did you go to Caltech, was it?
I postdoc at Caltech.
Postdoc Caltech.
Yeah, so I got a PhD at Berkeley
In chemistry?
in chemistry.
Okay. Yeah. So PhD trained chemist went to Caltech for a postdoc.
Yeah.
And then you end up over here. Did you do another postdoc?
Yeah, I was here with jobs and then kind of bounced around with a couple different companies.
So R&D work?
Yeah, R&D, medical devices, scientific instrumentation. Yeah.
And then, the next question is like, how'd you make that leap?
Okay, so I started brewing when I was 16. So this is back in late 60s, 1960. I've been around a while. And brewing was, nobody home brewed then. I had an uncle who home brewed, and he's what that kind of, got me into it. And it just sounded so cool. It was almost science. I knew I was going to be a scientist from age 5. Something. I want to be a scientist.
Because you're curious and observe the world.
Exactly, the curiosity. Yeah. So then I kind of ended up leaning towards chemistry because you can make things and you can do fancy taste. Yeah, so I started brewing beer when I was 16 in the basement. The ingredients were horrible and the equipment, I had to make all this stuff. And it worked. We could drink it and you get the buzz off of it. And it kind of tasted good, but it wasn't really good beer.
But there must be some pride in it, though. It's like you built this,
Yeah, I made some wine. I made a couple wines that tasted really good. The beer, not so much, but the wine. But wine took a long time to age, and so it wasn't as to get really good grapes only in the West Coast. Well, I ended up in Berkeley, and instead of maybe doing wine or whatever, I still home brewed while I was getting a PhD and met a few other people. And that was at the start of the whole craft brewing revolution. So this is mid-70s at this point.
So that's when craft brewing kind of
really took off. So there were 2 breweries in the San Francisco area at that time that were considered by today's standards, they were craft brewers. Mm-hmm. So one was Anchor, which had really been around since the 1900s. They made steam beer. And Fritz Maytag bought the company before it went out of business. It fallen into disrepair and hardly anybody brewing the beer. He actually revived it, brought it back. And he did some interesting, not just making that steam beer, which was the original beer they made, but he started making other things. So I credit him, and a lot of other people do, with making the first modern American IPA. And I had that when I was out there in 1979.
Did a light bulb go off?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm already brewing beer, and I taste this beer, and it's like, my God, that's what an IPA, and these hops are. They use this new hop, Cascade, which was very grapefruity and fruity. All the other hops, like I said earlier, the standard European hops and the hops from England, which are the 2 big places that had hops, they're kind of herbally, it's like a Dortmunder that we first had. That's not, this fruit, it's not fruity. It's spicy, it's earthy, but it's got a nice flavor to it, but you don't call it fruity. But this IPA, this Cascade hop, it blew me away.
Yeah.
And the aroma was there. It's just like, jumps out of the glass. And so I said, this is great. So we got some of these Cascade hops and we brewed with it. There was another brewery there too that opened up, New Albion, started by Jack McAuliffe. And this guy is like the first modern person to open a craft brewery in the U.S. And he opened that in the San Francisco area too. Whereas Fritz Maytag took over a brewery and kind of turned it into a craft brewery. This Jack started from scratch. There were no big tanks you could buy, so he took dairy tanks. And dairy used a lot of tanks, kind of like brewing does, stainless steel and such. So he took some of those and he welded and made fixtures and such so we could brew beer with them. So he started that up and he sold beer. And he had 2 women with him too, which is interesting. And he he lasted like 3 or 4 years, but he couldn't get enough money to invest to get better equipment to make enough money, to really get off the ground, scale it. well enough. So he ended up going out of business. But Tim, can't think of his last name, but he started Sierra Nevada Brewing. And he came by and visited the place several times, and he got the spark. He had a home brew shop in Chico, so, in California. So he opened up a brewery. It's now at Sierra Nevada. It's like one of the largest craft breweries in the U.S. The guy from Russian River, too. So this guy, Jack, influenced the start, the whole brewing revolution. And this was all in the San Francisco area.
So you were there at ground zero.
I was there at ground zero.
That must have been, that's part of your story.
It is.
You know, if you been somewhere else, it may not have.
Probably never would have happened. Not, at least not like that. Though I didn't brew beer. I brewed like a home brew for another 10, 15 years after that. I mean, I kind of quit when I got here and such. But I got interested in cask conditioned beer, which is like the beer that's made in England. We have one like a handful, and that actually pumps the beer out. So it's less carbonation at cellar temperature instead of freezing temperature. So I got into that, and there's a group here in the Boston area that puts on a cask conditioned beer festival every year. And I got involved in that and kind of ended up knowing a lot about the whole beer culture and the beer business and such. And then from that, my career was ending that. I was getting tired of the professional chemistry stuff.
Yeah.
And I knew people who were helping Aeronaut get off the ground. And I said, hey, I'm tired of doing my other stuff. I love the beer. I'd like to do that. So that's my second career, was jumping into brewing full time and bringing all the knowledge from my years of chemistry as well as beer.
Yeah. So you're living the dream. You feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
No, I mean, the passion is obvious. So what, if you reflect back on those years of starting here, what are some of your favorite memories?
One was my different uncle that got me into beer brewing, but he really loved German beers. And we had this place in my hometown. So I'm 18, I can drink at the time, legal in Ohio. And we had this place called the Beer Barrel. And they must have had like 5, 6, 7, 8 taps. Kind of unusual for like the early 70s. And they had this beer moving boy, or Lollenbräu, the Americans call it. And my uncle loved that. It was made in Germany and exported to the U.S. And so he said, you should try this. Oh, this is like the greatest beer. Wow. Because I'd already been drinking the Bud and the PBR, which are good. I loved it at the time.
Yeah.
But having this German beer it was such an eye-opener at that time. Mm. And that stuck with me all the time. I went to Germany. I spent a summer in Austria, then visited Germany when I was 19. I'm over there. I'm trying to find every single beer I can to try. All these things are just wonderful. They're just wonderful. Why doesn't America have beer like they do over there?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, those experiences were, wow. And the same thing in England, too, weren't there? England. And it's just like, my God, all this cask conditioned beer, it's so fresh because they serve the beer within 2 or 3 days. Otherwise, it goes bad because they're not putting oxygen getting into it. So as soon as you crack it open, it's starting to age. Some people say it gets better the second day, but it's usually after the 3rd or 4th day, it's on its way down if you haven't drunk the whole thing. So the idea over there is to try to drink before they go bad. And if you're in a bar or in the pubs that's been around forever, that you know how to do that so that you only put beers on in the nose or they'll kick faster. That's all you have, and these things are going fast.
All right.
And the beer is just different.
Why beer? I mean, Michael Jordan saw a basketball court and a basketball, and he said, this is it. There's skiers that see those 2 sticks and they start going downhill really fast, and they said, this is it. But for beer,
I
you were
don't
like,
know.
bam, you know?
Yeah, I don't know why with beer. I love all fermentation. I kind of got into all fermentation. I like wine, but wine isn't quite as drinkable.
Hmm.
I mean, wine
Yeah.
is more simple. I still drink it, but it's not. It's harder for me to sit down for an evening and drink.
The word you used, burn, resonated, I felt like, because it just, I feel like the higher you go in the alcohol, the more burn there is a little bit. So with wine, it does feel like there's a little bit more burn.
Still,
It's less friendly to the mouth and esophagus.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think, and then also, wine took longer to make. You have to age it. I mean, I love like some of the rest. So you got to put it in oak and you got to let it set for years before you can taste it.
Yeah.
Beer, 2-3 weeks for something. The ale, you can drink it. Waters, you wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So what? That's nothing compared to a wine or a whiskey.
It seems like the wine is like just a little too fussy, a little too uptight, too idiosyncratic for you. You're like, you're down to earth. You're laid back. You want something that's not going to be too complicated.
Yeah. And I think the whole beer drinking culture is you went out and you drank a number of beers. You usually don't go out go out beer. I mean, you'll go to a bar and you have a cocktail or something, but beer, you sit in front of a football game, baseball game, you're going to drink some beer.
You like the idea of longevity too. It's like, it could be a 3 to 4 hour session.
Yeah.
And
that's why I love the lower alcohol beer. You give me a good 3%, 2.5% beer. If it's tasty and it's good, I'd rather drink that. If I can drink 5 or 6 of those compared to 6%, I can drink half that amount.
Yeah.
For the same, level.
Yeah. There's something fun about the activity. The activity of sitting there, getting a little looser, just enjoying the hit every 20 to 30 seconds, maybe a minute, every sip,
Yeah. And it's a socializing, like we've already talked about too.
Right.
There with people you enjoy.
Here's like a darker idea. How do you not go too far? How do you not turn into an alcoholic? How do you stay?
I've always wondered that.
So you never had issues.
I get to a point where start drinking, then there's just too much.
Same with me.
The taste is good, or the buzz, and I know now with driving and everything too. That's always in my mind. But even if it's home or somewhere or someone else is driving, it's like,
yeah. I always thought it was something of a roll of the dice for me, like some sort of genetic luck.
I think it's genetic.
It's I can do it recreationally, but for some reason it doesn't become compulsive and addictive. It doesn't lead into a darker place, but I've seen family members where it does, and it's like, I'm not entirely sure why.
I'm not either.
Yeah, it's like part biology, part life experiences, part, I don't know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you just haven't had a problem in that regard. Yeah.
And I'm cutting down now because it's just like getting older and, even...
Can't go as hard.
Yeah, it just... It affects sleep if you drink too much and stuff. So definitely, mates always go home and have a beer or two with dinner, and in the evening. Now, more often than not, I go home, I won't drink anything.
Right. Well, I definitely remember the days of college.
Oh, that's yes.
And the 22-year-old me versus the 14-year-old me, it's like different. And I know the days after are a little different.
And the same thing with the festival, 10, 15 years ago, you go to some of these festivals, someone else is driving, and oh God, it took a while to recover from those. But now it's much more measured, and it's like, okay, I'm enough. I'll taste stuff, give me something, I'll taste something, but
when we were tasting all those different beers, I made the observation that I've already broadened my horizons on beers. If I go into a brewery, it's IPAs. I don't know why, it's just a habit.
Yeah.
But now it's already opened up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any wisdom for, I guess, someone who wants to appreciate beer more deeply?
Yeah. Go to your the bartender over there and ask them, what do you like up there? What excites you? What excites the clientele up there?
Right.
Do you have anything really new that you really like, or there's something fresh just came out that you're excited about, or people are? And I don't know, I'd say maybe 8, 9 times out of 10, they'll recommend something that I wouldn't have chose. And you taste, wow, this is nice. I see what you're doing. I really like it. So I say, do that. Ask people, what do you like? Why do you like it? What do other people like here?
It reminds me of, there's a bookstore in Boston called Trident Booksellers, and they have a section where there's books that are wrapped in like grocery bag paper.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't see what it is.
Oh.
So you don't know what the title is. You don't know if it's fiction or nonfiction.
Yeah.
And you just buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open it, you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
But you appreciate it still.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little magic, a little mystery to that. And it's something similar to that.
Yeah.
What you just suggested, just ask, just have someone point the way for you.
Yeah. It's a journey. And it's just like, just keep, when you shift, especially being people are curious, is go out, buy different things. And it's a social thing. I say, don't go to the liquor store, buy something, take it home. Go out somewhere. Go out with friends. Go out alone, even if you have to. Go to different cities. Different places have different viewpoints, different types of beer, emphasize different things. But it's always great to go out. The bar scene, even when this country was started, so many decisions and things were made in the pub and the taverns. That was a socializing place. People went there. And it's still somewhat like that in England, but it's dying out. And I think it's even kind of dying out in the U.S. a little bit. People are going out less to socialize over beer and other things. And I think that me and the becoming something kind of people in that with. Go out, check it out. Hit a bar, fine. Go with friends, socialize.
Yeah, don't drink alone.
Don't drink on. Don't go over drink.
Yeah, know your limits, I guess.
Know your limits.
And it reminded me, like, you think about like everything's about politics now. And,
yes.
And, we're obviously very politically divided, and it's a very divisive time. And it may be like common knowledge, but it seems like in Washington now, people don't hang out as much with each other. The politicians don't. Yeah. The lawmakers don't.
Yeah.
They don't have dinners or get-togethers as much as they used to. And there's something to be said about getting at the table with someone you don't agree with. It's like you're way more likely to have a compromise, to concede some ground, to make friends with someone you agree with, don't even like. You're sitting with them, maybe even drinking with them.
Exactly. I agree.
It's like, I don't know, maybe our founding fathers were like pounding beers while they were
inventing
democracy.
I think so.
We should bring that back to some degree. Like, just have a few beers with someone who's on the other side of the aisle with you, someone who doesn't think or believe in the same things, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, why don't we leave it at that?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for showing me the process, letting me into your world.
Yep.
I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to come in and keep trying the beers.
Please come back.
Good luck with everything. And thank you again so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Curiously. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Brewmaster Mark Bowers. If this conversation challenged your thinking or helped broaden your perspective, please consider sharing it with your friends and family and use it to have a conversation of your own. If you want to support Curiously, please consider leaving a review. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for more conversations with people I meet along the way.